25 average. Upload speed, so that's down. Hello?
There we go. Now we say hello. Now that
Hello!
the mics are up.
Now we're live.
You gotta
All
push
right.
the slider on the mixer when you go. All right.
That's important.
We are here live. Joe and we used Switcher Studio for a series of 7 NAB. All right, I think we are back. I have a counter on my little app, and it's counting. So, hi.
Hey again.
I don't know what happened. YouTube just decided to like freeze it, and we just restarted the stream. So I am Anthony Barocas, and with me is Joe Corin. Oh,
How are
look,
ya?
the titles actually stack. That's kind of funny. So we'll do that. And now we'll come back to the wide shot because we're switching 3 cameras and doing everything live. We're going to talk about NAB, where at NAB, Joe and I produced a series of 7 vignettes on the show floor. We went in there with great expectations. We did a practice run at Showstoppers
Yes, we did.
on Sunday night, and things worked pretty well. And then when we got to the NAB show floor, there were some surprises, and we made
Complications.
adaptations, and we wanted to kind of go over what we have. So this is our NAB roundup. So first thing we're going to talk about, what is that?
Our starting kit.
Yes. We went in there with 2 cameras, so to speak. They were an iPad and an iPhone. And I used the Melomount case, and this held the iPad in production. So we were switching on the iPad. We're actually punching the show. He was punching the show. I was in front of the camera. We were punching the show. Actually, it would be helpful if they knew what we were talking about if they didn't see one.
Oh, that would be true.
So,
yeah. Why don't we go to that?
We'll show you one of these videos, or at least part of one of these videos, so you can see what we're talking about. And I believe that's this clip. No. Yes. There we go.
Hello there, my name is Anthony Barocas with Streaming Media here on the show floor at NAB 2018. There's a lot of small booths with really powerful content, and I am here in the Lightcast booth. Now, what does Lightcast have to bring NAB attendees this year?
Well, we believe here at Lightcast.com that viewership is currency. You just need to know how and where to exchange. And one of the big challenges publishers and media producers face today is to keep up with the fast pace of ever-changing landscape of new devices and screens and platforms coming out, how to integrate them, how to publish to them, and how to simplify workflows in order to reduce avoidable overhead costs and keep it affordable.
Now, the cloud is a big thing, but I'm told you have a different type of cloud.
So one of the things we can talk about here is the fact that Joe is behind the camera switching. I've turned the program audio down, and stop. Okay, so I don't know what keeps happening. I just keep getting a pop-up on the screen that says my video is now complete, and I don't know why it's stopping. But anyway, so the stills we have we pulled from the website, and we also have video that we used.
We have a video that we used of that guy right there, Andreas, and he was touching the screen. So we had actually captured that in the iPad beforehand, and then put it into the video as additional B-roll footage.
And you can see the titles coming in and out on Andreas. This is the iPhone camera on a magic arm off to the side, just to be a close-up on the person. And then this is the iPad camera with a wide-angle lens on it. So you can see the bowing on the left edge there of the backdrop is caused by the wide-angle lens, because we're really close. The only way you can get a good difference between your front shot and your side shot is if you are really close, so that when it goes to the close-up of Andreas or
Somebody else.
or the video that we pre-recorded. We didn't edit this in later. This is all shot beforehand, where he's just clicking through and then dropped in. And then there's the iPhone camera off to the side of the iPad, and titles and everything, and the opening and closing bumpers were put in live as we were doing the show. So we kind of figured out the timing of them, how long they go, what the music rhythm is, and we were able to do all of this sort of on the fly using Switcher Studio and 2 iOS devices.
So let's talk a little bit more about the starting kit, just so everyone kind of gets a little bit better of an idea on that.
Okay, we're gonna cut the thing out.
Okay.
The starting kit. So yeah, we had the iPad in here, and then we had a second iPhone off to the side on a magic arm, and so that was off here, and that provided the view of the guest person who was on there, because it wasn't the focus really wasn't about me. It was about these providers of
And what they were offering, that it was new at NAB.
right.
The other then, as far as lighting goes, we were using this Dracast.
Yes, this was a really useful tool, because when I brought a camera top LED light that faces forward, and we tested it on a wall, and we have this tiny little cone of light, and this thing, because it's edge lit,
It had much wider.
much wider and soft, so we're able to show video that or shoot video that was fairly evenly lit, even though the disc is only 9-inch or 10-inch?
I think it's 12. I think it's 12, and it uses 2 Sony batteries, and is also you're able to change color on it and stuff like, and of course power. You can plug these things into. This is pretty nice. I like this.
Yes, I like this one too, and I've looked at others that take the big V-Lock batteries, and this one's cool because I already have a bunch of those little NP batteries. Mike has a question. What is the name of the iPad case, and what iPad was used? This is a Mella mount, MELLA mount case. I also have iOgrapher cases. This Mella mount case is for the iPad Pro 9.7, which is the first generation. And there's pluses and minuses to this case. Pluses are, it's got 3 shoes on top and 1 on the side. So if you want to do vertical stuff, you have a shoe up here too. It's thick, so when the iPad is in here, it's really comfortable to grab, because it's like a good inch thick, or
And it has the handles too.
2 centimeters. And if you want to do handheld stuff, the handles fold out, and you could do that. Or if you're not using the handles, they fold away, and if they're flush, and it fits easier into a case, because they're not these handles that are always sticking out. The iOgrapher case handles are always sticking out, and they're not as flat as this. The downsides to this are the fact that it's very kind of challenging to get the handles out, because they don't stay. There's no locking in position, so we had it down this sort of like a little table rest, and it would boom, it'd fold down on us. But the worst thing is the screw mounts on this case, and we actually kind of do have a close up. Let's go to my camera. All right, so the screw mount on the bottom here, which I can show you this one. the screw mount on the bottom here, I had to add tape to it because the way it's designed, the actual plastic that the screw mount is in is about 1 millimeter further than the rest of the case. So when you try to put it on a tripod plate and not have it twist around, because you're touching the surface of the tablet, you don't want it to be like spinning around. So you had to like build up the plastic on the rest of it. And realistically, if you're molding these cases, you can mold it flat. You could, you have full control over what it's going to look like, and they did that on both of them. So you need to add extra stuff to make that thicker so that when you screw this into something, it doesn't just spin like a top.
And there was one other thing with that case.
Turn my mic volume up a bit. Hello, hello, hello. Okay, that must be you. Hello, 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 hello.
And I do think there was one other thing with that case, and if I steal that from you, that on this particular side right over here, are we here? Okay, this particular side over here, this is where the power comes in. So when you put an adapter here, it's really hard to actually get the lightning cable in right here. And then obviously if you're working on something where you're going to be going out around, you need to keep these things charged.
You should be able to hear me now because I was working off of his mic. I don't know why mine was off, but it was off. So now I should be a little better sounding. Let's go back to two shot. Okay. All right, so that was the case. The Dracast, awesome light. So we did have 2 stands. We had the tripod. Yeah. We had a real tripod. We didn't go with a monopod. Joe had suggested, just for stability, and excellent recommendation, excellent idea. Tripod had the stability so that you could set it up and hang all this stuff off of it, and it was just there.
And when you're trying to touch and everything else, it just would be no.
Yeah, that was a critical decision. And what's next?
Audio.
Audio. So we had the light, and then for audio we had the Samsung Go Mic Mobile, which I had been given from Samsung to review. It's a 2.4 gigahertz system, and it can clamp to the back of a phone, and the person is like 2 feet away, 3 feet away. That was me, with the Samsung microphone, doing the interview. When we did the show at Showstoppers, Ronald says awesome audio. When we did this show at Showstoppers, it worked pretty well.
But we had no problems at all.
We had no problems. Showstoppers was Sunday night before the official show opened on Monday, or the exhibit floor.
Yeah, and it was probably 15 or so vendors who went over and were able to show before the show their new products and stuff like that. So
yeah, how many people do you think?
I think it was mostly only press that seemed.
Yeah, it was only press, but how? Say about 100.
Yeah, probably about 100. That would be my best guess.
And this was in a casino that was kind of away from NAB, so it was really an isolated thing where the RF, the 2.4 gig, was not
fine.
Was fine.
That actually probably should lead us right.
10 minutes at a time. We haven't been on for how long?
No.
Okay, we're back.
All right.
Unfortunately, YouTube keeps kicking us off, and we keep starting the stream again. So I apologize, but that's the way it's going to have to be.
Yeah, I'm not too sure why.
So
we were hardwired in.
Yes, and we are hardwired all the way. So the iPad is hardwired to the router, which is hardwired to.
It was not even the first interview went okay, but the second one, it was glitching, and I'm standing behind and I'm switching the show, and suddenly the audio is still there, but it was just people were freezing and no one was going over and looking very good, and it was just horrendous. Yeah, and then you went over and did
the second camera when this started to happen. The second camera, the iPhone camera, literally became unusable.
Totally unusable.
And we're talking the distance of a foot to the hotspot and then into here, and we could not even get that reliably.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about this is what we used. So you're talking this far away, with the hotspot right here. Yeah. So it was horrific.
It was bad.
So and that compromised both the audio and the video. So it wasn't just the fact that we had that. We also were using the Samsung system, which and it would drop out for a second or two and then just pop right back in. So that wasn't exactly a workable solution for us. So we switched it up.
Yes, we had a short break in between segments we needed to get, and we took the time to basically come up with solutions for things. And part of the solution was the fact that we wanted to get hardwired. We needed to get off of RF. RF was super intense, and I mean, I'm looking over here and it says I'm not running, and over here it says I am running, so I don't know.
Well, I guess we should assume at the moment it's working.
There we go. Apple Lightning to USB camera adapter. Okay, we are back up. Apologies again. I don't know why YouTube keeps kicking us off, so...
So basically, when the hardwiring, we totally got rid of the hotspot.
Yeah, hotspot went away, and this was essentially... Thank you.
You're welcome.
This was essentially our solution. And it is the Apple Lightning to USB adapter, which needs power, and then USB to Ethernet, a really short Ethernet cable, and then the same thing as this on the other side. We're using it on the iPads. Yeah.
This on the system we're currently using.
Right.
So you have this right here, same thing.
Now, the reliability of this was bulletproof. It just worked great. And it allowed us to not have to worry about the video at all, and it was very lightweight. The other key thing I need to point out is that when you go this way, you need to provide power to the USB adapter. Otherwise, it'll say there's not enough power to run the Ethernet hub or the Ethernet adapter. It's not a hub.
Right. So we're using an camera wise. Oh, so we were using an NCAR battery power bank.
Yeah.
And then of course the Lightning USB, because that's what this is taking. This is taking a Lightning cable in here, USB on the other side. So that was our solution for the video. Now our audio solution was just a little bit different. So the audio system, we had switched over to the system we are actually currently using.
Yeah, there you put that one.
So we had moved over to the Harmonic.
There's no tally, so I'm pointing him.
Yes. So we moved over to Harmonic, which we have at the edge of the table
yes.
over
I can
there.
hold this up. This is the Harmonic receiver. You're actually listening to Harmonic lavalier mics right now in each unit.
And then you have this particular handheld microphone, which you saw in the video. And, this is really nice. It not only did a great job getting the audio, and the audio is really super solid, but the other thing that I really liked about it, I mean, it's also little details. Like, it was really easy to mix up the channels. We were able to go over and do all the stuff with making a stereo mono and stuff like that. And little things, like it has the flat surfaces, so when you put it down on the table, it doesn't roll away. So we were really happy that we had this on hand to go over and do, and I can forward, and there you go.
Now, in changing everything, we ended up with changing one paradigm to another. Kind of led us into other challenges. Like, so the Samson system was providing audio through the Lightning port directly. And we were able to listen to the program with headphones plugged into the headphone port. That was great. And then video was coming in wirelessly. Well, video needed to come in through the Lightning port. So then audio needs to come in through the headset jack. And Harmonic includes like a cable that screws in here, and I don't know how long was it? How long was it? Coiled?
Yeah, probably about that. Yeah.
I don't know. It's not terribly long. It's meant to be on top of a camera, and it reached down to the headphone jack on the iPad. And it is correctly made to work with iOS. It is tip ring sleeve to tip ring sleeve for iOS.
Actually, I think that's a different cable. The cable, that wasn't the cable it came with.
No?
No. The cable it comes with is this one. Well, one just like this, which is it screws into the thing here, and it's an XLR. So it's a 3.5.
Oh, that's what it comes
tune
with.
XLR.
Yes, that's what it comes with. But when I was there and at NAB on the show floor, I was able to get the TRRS so that we could get from point A to point B directly. Problem then is you can't hear it.
Right.
So the challenge was we needed to make sure the audio actually coming into the iPad was clean and I'm gonna refresh.
Have note.
Yeah.
So that
Didn't have on the show floor. Actually, I did, but it didn't work when we tested it. And we went directly from the output of the Saramonic receiver into the iPad. We could see the levels move and hope that it was right, but it was only because we did a short test. Okay, that level sounds good. There's no clipping, there's no distortion and everything. We know that that's a good level, but we were still kind of like flying blind, I would say.
a little bit, yeah. We were that, but I mean, I will have to say this about this system though. We had, I mean, if you listen to all the different ones we had, the audio is great.
The audio was great.
Like-
There were no dropouts, no hits, no nothing.
No, nothing. And I mean, just to say that comparative to all the RF signal interference that was there, I mean, when you went onto your phone and went through the app, I mean, number of hotspots was like over 100.
Insane.
It
You
was
just
just
scroll through
nuts.
A, scroll through B, scroll through C, and the hotspots may not even be the worst culprit because hotspots exist there, but they're not always passing data. You know, other than announcing what your SSID name is. The worst offenders are the video transmitters, of which we're using a couple here, that they're spitting a solid stream of data in the 2.4 gig or in the 5 gig, and the hall was filled with these things.
Tons. I mean, it was
Everywhere.
insane.
So it was quite a challenge to do anything on the 2.4 gig range. So my recommendation is, it may sound like, hey, this gets you out of the crowded megahertz, 500 megahertz range and into the 2.4 gig. Yeah, okay, that's even worse. The 2.4 gig and the 5 gig range is like a demilitarized zone. Anything goes there. Everybody's throwing all kinds of signals there because it's license free, and it was just insane. So
And that was the cable. So we did have a few other issues. We've kind of talked a little bit about it. The first one was our first frame. So we had gone over and prepared to have a big, easy way to tell what the video clips were. So when we were given over the opener and the close, you couldn't tell the difference because it's a single white frame. So went high contrast on the word open and on the word close, which in hindsight may not have been our best idea.
it worked really well in terms of looking at the iPad, and you could easily tell. Open was green and it said open, and close was red and it said close, really big across the entire frame. And that's great for seeing it and knowing which clip to hit. The downside comes in that if you were doing the video live and you're doing just cuts, that first frame is visible. And I think is it this one? No, I'm gonna run the clip and start it over a couple times and see if you can see the word close.
I think it's this one, right?
Yeah, I think it's that one. See, close. And it goes right into the close, and then just hit it again. Close. So we found that it was like, we have a great idea. Oh, well, that great idea now has another side effect.
So we did go over and have the way we solved that problem, and I use the word solved very loosely, is we went over and created a white frame. And with the solid white frame, we would hold on to the white frame. We would start in the white frame. We created a dissolve that was an entire
1 second long.
1 second, or actually, I think at one point I pushed it to 1.5 seconds. And then dissolving between the white frame and the actual clip you can actually still see it. It is still just a little bit there, but it is not as garish as it originally started to be.
Yeah, it was one of those bright ideas that then leads you to the next workaround.
Yes.
So if, I recommend it, it would be nice if any of these apps, and there's multiple apps, let you pick what the keyframe is, but they don't. And
Or let you have a title underneath.
a title,
That would be so nice.
That would be nice too. But so our workaround was to do the graphic for the one frame. In hindsight now, it's sort of like, okay, if you're going to do it, you can make it really big. You can make it the whole frame, but make it subtle. So
Or just have like a little mark. Like have one little corner be a little bit different of a color, white or something.
yeah, in the upper left and the upper right. So one's open and one's closed, or some other thing that's not as full frame and garish as what our solution was.
Red and green. All right. The other thing was with the crowded floor. Because we had a crowded floor, we didn't want to have a great deal of distance between him and I, because people would very easily be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, there's something over here," and kind of go right in the camera frame.
Oh yeah, we wanted to be as tight.
So
as
we wanted to
could
be tight. So we had this case, and as we said with the arm, the difference between this camera and this camera and the other camera, which is like literally was at most
12 inches away.
12 inches away, it is not that significant. And a thought occurred to us when it was, well, we could do this, so significantly more distant. But the problem again was the power cord. It really wouldn't work.
Right. If you're using the lightning port for anything, then you can't use the bottom screw on this mount because whatever you're going to screw in is too big.
Yeah,
it blocks the
doesn't
lightning
work.
port. And we needed the lightning port for the video, so
Yeah.
no good.
So that was our first problem. And the second problem, of course, is that when you're talking about lens distortion, when you're talking about those wide angles, I mean, it really bothers me. But when you have the walls kind of going like
The little
this,
bowing.
the bowing. But
You can get better lenses, but the lenses that are available for the iographer, there's going to be some distortion. The wide angle tends to be a little barrel, and then the 2X that I have that is available for the same size lens mount is a little bit of what they call pin cushion. So it actually pulls in the edges a little bit, and you could possibly correct it if you had the right tools or the right software that could do distortion on top of distortion to make it correct. But there are other lenses out there. We're using iPhone 5s, and actually these are two SEs, but it's an iPhone 5. And the SE has actually, let's do this. Watch this. The SE has a little case on it, and it has a little screw thread right here, so that it doesn't take up much extra room at all. And what it does is it allows us, let's fix that. It allows me to put a wide angle on there or put a 2X on there. And obviously the Melomount or the iographer case has the ability to add a different lens on here as well. So that you're able to have that disparate field of view. I'm like, oh, this is so wide. And then even though I didn't have a 2X on the little camera, the fact that it was what I'm going to call a normal lens, it was dramatically closer than the 0.45 I had on the iPad. And that created a disparate look, really wide and definitely not as wide. And then because we were so close, because it was super wide, that arm created enough of difference of position to look at the person who was speaking. At least that was my impression.
Yeah, I thought so too. I mean, and I really wouldn't knock too much these little lenses, because I know that professional lenses are ungodly expensive. So, I mean, these little lenses are typically like 20, 30, 40, not much more than $50. So
yeah,
considering what they're doing, what you're getting, because I know that
Yeah, here you go.
when I
this,
go,
This is a 2x lens.
yeah, and I know that when I buy lenses from the 5D Mark III and I'm looking at the L series lenses, I'm right there talking about $1,000. No ands, ifs, or buts. So I appreciate the lenses for what they are. Do I wish they were better? Sure. Do I want to spend $1,000 on an iPhone lens?
No.
Oh no.
No.
So it's not that bad, but you got to go over and just be ready for it.
And it really adds up too, because if you're doing a show with 4 cameras, 5 cameras, it's one thing to have a DSLR and I'm going to spend a lot of money on a lens, but it's something completely different to have. I have 6 cameras, and I need a couple
say
wides.
6 lenses. Yeah,
Yeah, then that's what is it, $6,000 on lenses? No, I'm not spending that much money on lenses. It's not going to happen.
Not for unmonitored cameras, which are going to be a little one over here, one over there, and one over here. You don't want to be like, hold on a second, that camera's moving. Oh crap, kind of deal. So yeah, I totally understand that. So the next thing we had was the reframing. So we had both cameras connected onto one tripod. So as you can imagine, when you went over and were having the camera located here, a lot of times what we're trying to do is we're trying to get the signage. So the sign of whatever the company was, so it's in the frame, which of course makes you kind of shooting like almost like you're doing the bottom of the head thing, and that doesn't really have a very good look. So what ended up happening is this one is framed up a little bit, getting the sign above their head, and then this one's the right view. But since they're all on one tripod, if I do this, it's gonna move both of them at the same time.
Yeah.
So I couldn't reframe this one without messing up this one. So I couldn't, I don't know. It was, there were short videos. It was, if I could do it again in hindsight, I'd almost rather carry this and have the 2 iPhones next to each other and on somewhat separate stands or something, as opposed to doing the way we did. Although this was really, really, really super mobile. So I have no complaints on trying to get through that floor.
Yeah.
With all those people. You don't want to be carrying,
multiple stands
and multiple things. We had the stand for the light, we had
the one tripod,
the tripod for this, and a bag. Actually 2 bags. You had a bag. I had a
backpacks
bag.
that carried everything when we were time to pack it up and head out. That was really one of the key things, is to produce something that didn't take didn't take editing, but be very light, have a very small footprint on the show floor. So,
and be able to get stuff out super fast. Because by the time you're
Yes.
talking about post,
Yes.
It's not just being light and just being in and out. It's also the fact that, we were able to get up videos that night. We could never get them up.
All right, we're back.
Yeah, trust me, I'll be looking at this later. I'll tell you that.
Again, apologies. I'm not staring at the screen the whole time, so if it decides to go bonkers and then bump us off, and then I look down, oh, I'm sorry, and I don't exactly know where it cut us off. So that's a bit of a challenge. What we're talking about, reframing both cameras. Yes, just to recap, in case he was saying that we want to have this camera to highlight both the people and the booth a little bit, so it may be tilted back a little bit, and the arms up here, and if you tilt down, you're going to tilt them both down, and you can't really do that.
It's connected right here, so you would go both at the same time. But on the other hand, we had said that, just in case, there really wasn't another option, because you're trying to go over and be super light as you're running through the show, and you have, there were people with, the big, giant professional cameras, which were, oogled and ogled over, and I really like them. But on the other hand, they had one camera.
Right.
We had an entire studio we're working with.
Right.
So having the light and the light stand and the tripod and everything else, it just didn't make enough of a difference.
Yeah. We had 2 people, we had 2 pieces of equipment to carry around. And so that worked out very well for us in terms of being mobile, shooting 7 different companies, filming
back to back at times.
filming 7 different companies on the NAB show floor. And plenty of other crews were out there with a camcorder and a microphone and everything, or, maybe there was an assistant behind the camera running the camcorder while someone else did the interview. But the thing they didn't have is they didn't have a cutaway for the interview. They didn't have titles coming in. They didn't have video bumpers. They didn't have stills being overlaid while the guy was talking about it. They would have to add all that in after the fact, and that was something that we were offering to these people. We were saying, listen, these are going to be shot on the show floor. We could shoot one at 3 o'clock, and that night it was going to be up. So, and if we're going to do 7 of them, I actually want to be able to do it so that as we're taking the time to do it, that's the time it takes to finish it. And as soon as we're done and we say, thank you, thanks for watching, then that would be the time it takes and we're done. And that worked. So if we had internet on the show floor, we had a partner on the show floor where we could go over there, jack in, push it, and be done, they could be turned around in minutes. I still probably wouldn't go live because for the type of video we were doing, we wanted to have the ability to stop. And there was actually, at Showstoppers, when we did the video editing app,
Oh, yeah.
we shot video before the interview of them demoing the app, but the video we shot had audio on it because the iPad is recording video and audio. And then when we played it back in the middle of the thing, all this big room noise came in and just totally overwhelmed the discussion we were having. Mm-hmm. And because we were not streaming, because we were doing like live to tape, so to speak, as they say, that enabled us to be like, whoa, okay, we had a glitch. Let us just go back and do it again. And we started over and everything went great because we understood what that issue was going to be and worked around it. Yeah. So there's definitely advantage to live the tape.
Yeah, when you make a mistake, totally. So, questions?
Yeah, other than we have a question about the lower thirds, and the lower thirds are built into the app. So that's basically it. Unfortunately, I think we may not have as many people watching as we really wanted to have watching because of the YouTube bumping us off constantly. And I don't know what the cause of that is. We've got a solid stream now. It's solid for a certain length of time. And then I look down and then there's an alert on the screen saying, you're all done. So I don't know if that's a function of YouTube live streaming, which this is my first time actually pushing directly to YouTube Live from the iPad in a multicam situation. And,
I'll look something we need to look at.
I'll look into that a little bit more. Let's see, audio, just kit we're using here today. Saramonic mics, single receiver, going into a Behringer audio mixer so that I can bring up my level, his level. I have a master level as well. Had a backup here in case one of these didn't want to work. And this is probably off. So if I turn it, hello. So that one, actually, it's been on the whole time. Turn it off. So
extra room mic.
Yes, we have an extra room mic for room sound, and that was a backup. We've got an iPhone over here, normal lens plugged in. We got an iPhone over here with a 2x lens on it. It's set up a little higher because he's taller than me. And then we actually have a camcorder back over here. It's a Sony camcorder, and it's going through a Teradek clip. And that way it is able to come in here, and we're doing this test to make sure all the different pieces, and we're actually grabbing the slides from the
HDMI.
laptop. And of course there's the iPad camera. Hello. Which we're not using. And we have all the video clips. So we only have 8 sources, but 3 of them are live cameras and the iPad and video clips. So that is our setup here today. I don't think the router, what kind of router we're using makes much difference, but it's USB audio into the iPad. It's hardwired from the iPad directly to the internet, and that's our setup. If you have any additional questions, I think you guys did good for the first time out. Well, thank you, Mike.
Thank you, appreciate it. Appreciate it.
I feel it went, banging our head against the wall, but
We least with the internet. Don't know.
Yeah, at least with the internet, I have no
that.
idea what's up with that. So appreciate the kind words, and any other questions, you could, write a question on the thing. I'll get it, and we'll be able to answer it even after the fact. And with that, my name is Anthony Barocas, and
Joe Corin. I didn't know you were cutting to me.
yeah, it's new. And thank you for hanging with us for some time as we talked about our NAB live streaming event. Take care.
Thank you so much for watching.